Hey everyone! I know it's been a minute since I've actually shown my face. I think the last time I posted on YouTube was a vlog, and that was last year, June. But I have been super inconsistent with YouTube, and a lot has happened between last year, the year before that, and now a lot has happened. But that's why I'm here. I'm coming back on YouTube and I want to tell y'all where I've been, what I've been up to. So my name is Olivia. I'm a faith, fashion, lifestyle content creator, and I'm coming back to YouTube, okay? I know it's been a minute and I just want to commit to this platform as much as I commit to Instagram and be doom scrolling all day. But sharing my faith with my community, my fashion style, or my personal style, to be quite honest, because style is what you make it, I would say, for the most part. And then just like other things that are taking place in my life, honestly. I am now in my 30s. And to be completely honest, it has been a ride. Without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. The first thing I want to talk about is death. I know, crazy, right? But I would rather just get this and get it out the way and then talk about it in the middle or at the end and start crying. So let me get it out the way. So if you are new here, then you don't know that I had a surgery back in 2021 for my hand. So my hand surgery, and we'll talk about that a little later in this video. But 2022, I lost my grandfather. And how I lost him was very just random. But the date that I lost him was even more crazy. So my grandfather passed away September 10th of 2022. My mom's birthday is September 9th, and my grandmother's birthday is September 11th. And if you want to give a little kicker, my boyfriend's birthday is September 6th. So leading up to that week, it was a great week. I just came back from Mexico and I was heading to Maryland to spend time with my grandmother, and my grandfather was coming because it was going to be my grandmother's 85th birthday, and he passed away the day before her birthday. So that was very sad for my family because we hadn't had a close death, like a close family member's death, in a very, very, very long time. So for us, it was a shocker because he hadn't been to Maryland in such a long time, and the one time that he comes, he dies. Crazy, right? So that was a bit of a shock for all of us because it happened so fast, so quick, and literally the next week, we buried him. So the passing of my grandfather was really hard for my family and for me specifically, and for my sister and my mom, because we took care of my grandparents while they were still in New York. And even during COVID, my mom would be the only person going to my grandparents' house to make sure that they had food, making sure that they were okay and things like that. And I grew up with my grandparents. I was extremely fortunate enough able to say that, I'm going to my grandparents' house. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm always going to my grandparents' house. As crazy as it sounds, but during school, so elementary, middle, high school, and then even in college, and even after college, if you're my friend or if you know me, you know that I've always gone to my grandparents' house at least once or twice a week. There's no way I can go a week without going to my grandparents' house. When he passed, it was a lot for me and for my family because honestly, thinking about just when I run, the route that I ran, I would pass by their house. So I stopped running during that time. Just even in that area, I stopped going in that area. It was very hard for me actually to go to church as well because when I would go to church, I would have to pass their house to go to church, but also after church, I would always go to my grandparents' house every Sunday. So for me, it was very hard to experience a loss like that in a while. So my grandfather definitely was a father figure for me, and it was just hard. But I can't say that I got over it. I just felt like I coped with him not being here, thinking about I couldn't call him every day to let him know that I woke up, that I got to work safely, or that I'm on my way there if he needed anything. So for me, it was just tough to kind of go through that transition. I went through it, still kind of going through the process. There's not a day that I don't think about him. So for me, that was something that was very hard. And then that was in 2022. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit, and then of course, talking about other topics, we're gonna go back a little bit. So last year, grandmother passed away. She passed away 4 days before I turned 30. So again, that was also very hard because, miss my grandfather, really wish that he was here. Then I was missing my grandmother just as much, even though she wasn't dead. I was missing her because she was no longer living in New York. She was living in Maryland with my other family members. And for me, it was tough because I couldn't just go and see her when I wanted to. I had to take a bus or a train to go see her. I had to make sure that I took time off from work, or if I even had the means or the funds to go and spend time with her for the weekend, because I couldn't spend the whole week, or things like that. And I just missed her a lot. So I did my best to call her as often as I could, but phones ended up not working because she suffered from Alzheimer's. So with that, she stopped using her cell phone, and it was hard because she didn't want to use her cell phone. She wasn't forced to use it. It was, if she did, she didn't. If someone wanted to talk to her, she would be talking on someone else's phone. So for me, it was hard because I would call her and she would never pick up the phone. Not because she didn't want to speak to me, but because she just didn't want to use the phone. I don't know what reasons why, but Alzheimer's is different for every individual, I would believe. And my grandfather didn't have any sicknesses or anything like that, but my grandmother did have Alzheimer's, and I would say the early stages of dementia. So for us, it was a lot harder to lose my grandmother because we just lost my grandfather, but losing my grandmother was difficult as well, for the simple fact that she was no longer herself. When you have a family member, you have someone who has this type of sickness, it's difficult because they can react in ways that you've never seen them express themselves before. Obviously, they're forgetting things. You may even forget who you are. So just, seeing my grandmother in a way where I've never experienced her was a bit hard for me and for my family too. But I still loved her, did still do my best even when the times that I was there with her during the holidays, and I knew that I needed to see her before my birthday. So every year for my birthday, not every year, but almost every year for my birthday, I like to do a photo shoot. Just to kind of keep memories of as I get older, transforming of my style and who I am, and just how I'm becoming more of a woman. And my 30th, of course, I wanted to have a photo shoot. I already had it planned out. I already knew what I was gonna do, and I wanted to do the photo shoot before my birthday so that when my birthday did come, I can post those photos on my birthday. And the first Sunday in March of last year, my grandmother fell. And my family thought it was nothing serious, and they took her to the hospital, and the hospital said that she was fine. But when she came back home 2 days later, she had a stroke, and that stroke is what pretty much led her to being in the hospital for her last days. So she was actually in the hospital for 10 days before she passed. The weekend of my photo shoot, when we found out that she had a stroke and she had to go back to the hospital, I felt extremely bad at that point because I wanted to go to be with my grandmother, but I also had these obligations. There were so many things that I put in place. I was also planning for a birthday party, and I had spent so much money, and I didn't know what to do. My sister, my boyfriend, and even my mom encouraged me to still do the photo shoot because my grandmother would have wanted me to be happy. So I made it a mission to see my grandmother before she passed away. Again, I didn't know she was going to pass away, but I knew that I needed to see her before my 30th birthday. So the following week, I made sure that I booked a train ticket. So I took the Amtrak train to Carrollton, Maryland, and I took like the earliest train possible. And from the train, I told my aunt to take me straight to the hospital. And I spent those 3 days with my grandmother, and those were the last 3 days that I saw her. Of course, she was not in the same condition and state that she usually is in. She was nonverbal, but I knew that she could hear me. I knew that she heard my voice. So for those 3 days, I sang to her. I prayed with her. I prayed for her. I prayed for her mind and for her spirit. And I prayed for my family because, again, we just lost my grandfather. So losing my grandmother was something that I know was going to be difficult again because, you know, they say that the grandparents are like the glue of the family, especially their grandmother. So for me, I knew that it was something that I didn't want to accept, but I knew that I needed to. And I knew that this was going to be something to push me into the year of 30. You know, it's a new decade, new beginnings, a really exciting time of kind of starting over in a way. And for me, it was unfortunate that in my 20s, I lost both of my grandparents at the end. You know, I thank God that I spent as much time as I did with them. I thank God for the opportunities and the experiences that I've had with my grandparents because believe it or not, my grandparents were my parents. When my mom had breast cancer, I lived with them for a majority of my high school, middle school time. And nonetheless, they loved me and I loved them. That is kind of what happened over the last, I would say, 4 years, 3 to 4 years, dealing with grief, dealing with death, and understanding that it's not an overnight thing. It's going to take some time. It may take some years, but nonetheless, you will grow and you will be a better person. So yeah, I drink some tea. Not promoting this company because I don't work for them anymore. So good. So good. All right, so the next topic we're gonna definitely talk about because we just need to, okay, is my hand. I know a lot of people have been asking questions about my hand surgery and how it's been over the last couple of years. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if I need another surgery. I've been working out over the last year and a half, and I've been putting a bit more pressure on my wrist. So again, this is where I have my scarring here, and it is a bit hard. Now, I don't know if there is a cyst there or if there's a buildup of something, but it is extremely hard in that area. And when I do certain type of movements or certain type of exercises, it can be a little bit straining to my wrist. So I have been contemplating about going to see a doctor and seeing whether or not I need to do an x-ray or just to figure out everything is okay with my wrist and if I should be doing any type of exercises, because I don't want to be in a position where I break my wrist or something happens just because I'm not being careful. But I do massage it every now and again throughout the day. I do kind of pull the skin to kind of like just see if anything will happen, but nothing's gonna happen, of course, because again, like the scar has healed. So there's nothing, I want to say there's nothing wrong with it from the skin aspects, but I will say though that at first I was afraid of doing certain exercises because my surgery was fresh. And to be completely honest, I wasn't even sure after my surgery if I should have been doing any type of workouts with my wrist just because of how fresh the surgery was and just the healing process. But now that it's been 3 years, about to be 4 years since I've had this surgery, I really want to see whether or not it is worth me getting like hand gloves or something like that to kind of protect my hands and especially my wrist when I am working out. So that's something that I'm thinking about, but hopefully I don't need another surgery because I don't like surgeries. I don't like going under the table, knife, needle, whatever you want to call it. I just don't like it. So for me, I would rather opt out of it and find other solutions and options, but I don't want to do surgery if I need to do surgery. Now, if it's a life-threatening situation, then I may think about it, definitely consulting God, but I wouldn't choose a first surgery as my first choice, to be quite honest. Now that we've gotten that out the way, let's talk about something that I have developed over the last couple of years. I've always said this, that during COVID, I had developed allergies. And the reason why I say this is because I was in the house all the time, never went outside, so I'm exposed only to the germs in my home. I wasn't exposed to other human beings. I wasn't exposed to new bacteria, new germs, all of that. Wasn't exposed to any of it. So I firmly believe that I developed allergies over COVID and during the time that I was working remotely. Now I don't work remotely, but I just think that I developed allergies back then. This new development of, not me scratching, so this new development in my body is my chronic hives. In 2023, I went to DR, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I need to do a redo of that trip. Going to a different part of DR or just going to maybe the same part, but just going into a different hotel because I can't do the big chains anymore, especially the resorts overseas. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. As crazy as it sounds, I've never been allergic to anything other than wool. And that was like so many years ago when I realized that I wore a wool hat and I broke out in an allergic reaction. Let me tell you how I got to this point of being diagnosed with chronic hives. So in 2023, I went to DR and the sun was actually pretty hot. I do kind of feel like I did get a sunburn when I was in DR, but I don't think the sunburn caused me to get chronic hives. So I came back from DR and I was experiencing these hives. And at first I didn't know what they were. They were just these red bumps and they would start on my hands. And then they would go to the other part of my hand and they would come and go, come and go. But when they did come, they were extremely red and very, very itchy. And I didn't know what they were until obviously I looked it up and I saw that it was hives. Decided that maybe it'll go away, right? Maybe I just put something on my skin and it'll just go away eventually. And then it got worse. My birthday's in March, so it happened around April. So from April to August, I was in so much pain because I would get chronic hives nonstop and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to take and I didn't want to buy any allergy medicine and buy the wrong one just because again, I didn't have it. I've never had an allergic reaction other to wool. So for me, I was going crazy. Like literally sleeping at night with the fan on because of the hives being so hot on my skin. I was itching like 24/7. And eventually I said, okay, let me try Claritin. That did not work. It did not help. I was like, okay, well, let me go to a dermatologist, figure out if they know what's going on with my skin, because I don't know what's going on and it's just getting worse. And at this point, I had it on my hands first, but then they started going to different parts of my body. Thank God it didn't go to my face, but I could feel that itching sensation on my face, but I just didn't see those hives on my face. So I went to the dermatologist, and they didn't do a skin test or an allergy test. They actually thought that I had something else. I don't even know what it was called. I can't remember at the moment, but they gave me a cream. They told me to put it on the night of, after I came home from that appointment, and then to put it on the next day. But that did not help at all. And then they gave me some eczema cream and something else they gave me. Oh, they gave me some medication, and they said to take it at night only when my hives were really bad. I took it every single night and it did not help. So I went back for a follow-up and told them that nothing is really working. I don't know what to do. And they told me that I need to go to an allergist because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And when I went back to the dermatologist, everything actually subsided and went down, and I was not itching for like maybe 3 or 4 days. So I figured something was working, but I just didn't know what was. I went to the allergist and they told me that I couldn't take any medications, any creams or anything like that, just so that they can see when I have a flare up. So I went to the allergist, they did a skin test. One, they saw that I was allergic to dust mites, crazy. But also they saw that I was allergic to like pollen and stuff like that, which I realized that again, I was allergic to certain things, but I just didn't know what. I just felt like an itching on my throat, my nose getting really stuffy and clogged up. But the hives, they said that it was just chronic hives. And the only way to treat it is to take antihistamine. So my histamine levels were through the roof. My doctor said, we're going to try this for a week and you tell me how it works, and we're going to come back and see whether or not this will be your current solution. In the meantime, no fragrances, no fragrance lotions, no fragrance body wash, nothing of the sort. Plain Jane, okay, vegan if you will. I was prescribed an antihistamine, and I just took Zyrtec, and that really helped. My doctor said that I would have to take Zyrtec every day, once a day. If it gets worse, then I can take more. But during that time, in 2023, I took Zyrtec once a day for a couple of months. So I saw my doctor in July of 2023, and I kept taking my Zyrtec up until like the holidays. There were some times where I did have to take it more than just one time because I would break out in hives randomly, or I would touch something in and I would start breaking out in hives a couple minutes after. That is kind of how the hives started about. But last year, my hives were extremely aggressive and they got worse. When I mean worse, I'm taking 2 Zyrtec a day. 2 Zyrtec a day, okay? And I don't like pills, if I'm going to be honest with you, but it's the only thing that works. And I'm telling you, if I don't take my Zyrtec, literally the next day in the morning, I will be breaking out in hives. So I don't know exactly what is going on and how a trip from DR then triggered me to having high histamine levels. So I am just figuring out different ways to really better my health, whether it's working out, whether it's eating healthier, and seeing how I can figure out where the spike of the histamine levels is coming from. But for now, I'm just taking my Zyrtec, and it got to the point where it was affecting my feet. I went to a podiatrist to figure out what was wrong with my feet, and I thought it was something related to the hives, but in actuality, I eventually went to a rheumatologist, and they told me that I have plantar fasciitis. I said, who got a what? And I was like, what is that? What is that? Like, what is that? What is that? I don't know what that is. I don't know how people get this. Does my hives and my inflammation have a correlation? I wonder. I don't know. Haven't figured it out yet, but that's kind of like what I'm going through with my health at the moment, with the chronic hives. And to be completely honest, it sucks. Okay, it sucks having to use the same lotion, the same body wash all the time, every day, and not have a smell or a type of scent. Just because I don't want to break out in hives. Again, keep in mind, soap, lotion, these are things that are going on my skin and seeping into my pores. So if it has fragrance, it can spike my histamine levels. It can make things worse. I don't know. And I don't really want to take the chances. I do wear fragrances every now and again, but super, super light and more clean fragrances. Nothing too heavy, nothing too strong, to be completely honest. But yeah, so that's what I'm going through at the moment with my hives. If anyone has chronic hives and they have any tips, please comment down in the section below to let me know what you do and how you battle and deal with it. Last but certainly not least, we're going to talk about my faith. So I grew up in the church. I've always been in the church, very involved, whether it was through praise dancing, doing the choir, or even just being a youth leader and being a mentor to other youths. And for me, I would definitely say in 2023, I took my walk with Christ a lot more seriously. And it wasn't like I wasn't doing it before, but in terms of just reading my word more and being more consistent with going to church and doing my best to just understand what is it that God has implanted and stored for me and my assignment, and am I even fulfilling my assignment? Am I even doing the things that God is asking me to do, or am I just living a lifestyle that is pleasing to Him? Last year, I actually felt spiritually empty. There was a situation that happened with me. It got to a point where I had to take a look at myself and see, how did I get to this point? And what exactly do I need to do in order to become the woman of God that God has called me to be? Because I know that He has placed a man of God in my life, but am I not doing my part? Am I not owning up to what it is that I have to do? So there was a point in time last year that, and it actually happened after my grandmother passed. It was around April of last year where I truly knew that I was spiritually empty, and I could not give into anyone else but myself at that moment, because I was empty and had nothing to give. So left my home church and I was on a mission to look for another church within my community, within my area, because I didn't want to go too far. Doesn't mean that I won't go too far for God, okay, or for a word, but in terms of just more convenience. And for me, this is my first time going to another church or trying to find another church home. So I was a little scared. So I didn't want to branch out too far and be away from my family or from comfort. I'm going to be very honest. So one of the people that I started watching online was Jackie Hill Perry. So she was someone that I was watching a lot. However, she lives in another state. So I said that I needed to find another church or another pastor that I can watch online. And when I was ready to make that leap of faith to walk into a new church. So I just typed in different like churches within the New York City area. So literally churches NYC, I would type that. I would type Brooklyn churches, NYC, or just Brooklyn churches. And I stumbled upon a couple of churches within Brooklyn, within Manhattan, and I came across my current church home now, and that is Bridge Church NYC. And I watched a couple of Pastor James, who is the lead pastor at Bridge Church. I watched a couple of his sermons and I was like, oh, I'm learning something. Usually I'm very much giving sleep during sermons and not being attentive. but I was very wide awake, very eager to learn about the Word of God, but just how it was being depicted, how it was being interpreted, and it wasn't being taken out of context. He was reading the word from word for word, okay? And I understood the sermons, I understood the concepts, but then I also looked at it from my lens and how I can implement it in my daily walk with Christ. So for me, I decided that Bridge Church was the church that I wanted to visit. And I visited the church. It was after my grandmother's funeral. So I would definitely say I think I visited Bridge Church at the ending of April, early May. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the community. I enjoyed that there were a lot of young adults that were around my age group. And then the diversity of ethnic groups, I really appreciated as well. Coming from a home church where it was a lot of Caribbean people, it was Pentecostal, and it was very comfortable environment for me, and I did not want to be in a comfortable environment. I wanted to be in a space where I had no choice but to speak to people. I had no choice but to talk about God and talk about a testimony and talk about how I'm feeling at the moment, or even talk about the word and what did the word mean, or how did I interpret it, or if I had any questions. And I will say that that was one of the best decisions that I made in 2024, was finding Bridge Church and making that church my home church. The simple fact that everyone is so welcoming, everyone is so caring, and it's true community. There's something called authentic sisterhood and authentic brotherhood, and of course for sisters, for the brothers, and I enjoyed both sessions that they had in 2024 that I was able to attend. And when I knew that the church was my home was when my sister asked me, "So you've been going to this church for quite some time. Is this your home church? Are you going to become a member?" And I was like, I think I will become a member, because I'm not going back to our home church, the old church that I was going to. And I truly enjoyed going to church and being a part of a community and being able to speak to other women in Christ about the word, or speaking to other men in Christ about the word. Being around people that are like-minded is so refreshing, to say the least. Definitely the community is what helped build my faith in Christ more, and to rely on, others as well, because this walk, you cannot walk alone. You can walk the walk alone, but I think walking with Christ and having community is what helps the walk to be a little bit easier. It's not going to be an easy walk, but just having community, I think, is what truly made me want to continue to stay at Bridge Church. And for me, it really built my faith. Listening in on the prayer calls every morning, and then going to Bible study on Wednesday evenings. And now in this new year, we're about to start a fast, a corporate fast that the church is doing. And I'm excited. I'm excited for the fast. I'm excited for the boundaries I'm going to set for myself and the things that I'm going to be praying for, because there's a lot that I need to be praying for. There's a lot that I need to be fasting from, because I feel like as a human being, I consume a lot. I overthink. I'm bombarded with so many things and so many external factors and internal factors. So I think this fast is definitely going to help me to start my year off right. I know that I can continue to keep some of these boundaries even after the fast is over. Continue to be more disciplined in my faith and my walk, but also be disciplined with myself. So for me, I've just really taken a liking to taking more notes while I'm in service, looking back at my notes, understanding what I wrote down, what was I thinking at that moment as the pastor was preaching, and going back into the word and comparing and seeing the scriptures and understanding what it is and the promises that God has for me and my family, and for even you that you're watching. And for me, I truly believe that my faith has been a lot more intentional. My walk with Christ is not something that I play with, because I know that God is real. I've seen him do so many miracles in my life, in my family's life, and I have so many testimonies to share. And even though life does come with challenges and situations, I know that God will always provide. He will always make a way. And I think in this season, and in my life in general, I want to continue to be bold with my faith. I want to continue to spread the good news. I think it's really important to tell others about Jesus Christ. And of course, I'm not preaching to you or throwing it down your throat, but I want everyone that I come in contact with to know who God is. And then eventually they can know him for themselves and they can build a relationship with God. So yeah, my faith has definitely really been tested. I am a seeing person. Like, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. But I feel like within the last 2 years, for sure, definitely my faith has been tested in ways where I had no choice but to just believe. I had no choice but to just rely on God and then seeing the outcome and then seeing his goodness. So yeah, so that's really my faith, what I've been up to, what I've been doing. Ultimately, I'm so excited for being back on YouTube. I'm deciding whether or not I want to do vlogs again, just because I feel like you guys don't really know me that well. So I would rather do sit down videos or styling videos. If you want me to do a vlog of like a weekend that I may have, or just something exciting that's taking place, let me know in the comment section below. I don't mind doing vlogs, but I think it's really important when I'm just having a conversation with you and being able to really relate to you. Hopefully I can be relatable to you, but until next time, have a wonderful day, and yeah, bye everyone.